No. Good morning, Amnon. How are you?
Good morning, thank God. A new day, Friday. We're getting close to Shavuot. What could be better?
Even Morea, another day that we're recording a video from the prophecies. I'm in Jerusalem, you're in Samaria. How fun. This day, the second of Shivan, is called the Distinguished Day. Yesterday was Rosh Chodesh. Today, tomorrow, will be the days of restriction, and in between we have the Distinguished Day. It's an important day in the synagogues of the people of Israel. They don't say Tachanun today because it's a festive day. They say a prayer that's a bit more festive.
What does distinguished mean? Not everyone understands.
Distinguished means that it falls between important days. Yesterday, the people of Israel arrived at Mount Sinai, and tomorrow they began preparing to receive the Torah in between. It's an important day. And this is something interesting that's connected to our program. On this day, when the Holy One, blessed be He, meets us, He doesn't speak Torah with us yet, He speaks history with us. You have seen what I did to Egypt, and how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to me. If you want to receive the Torah, you need to know the history of the people of Israel. So at the time of the giving of the Torah, they had a very short history, just a few weeks. Today, we have a history of thousands of years on eagle's wing. They carried us through quite a period. And when you approach the giving of the Torah, you look at the history, and from there you approach the giving of the Torah. You know what? Since we've already started talking about matters of the period, about matters of time, I'd like, with your permission, to begin with a mitzvah that is very connected to this time and is very connected to what we're doing. There is a mitzvah in the Torah, in the book of Deuteronomy, called Observe the month of spring. Observe. The month of spring, this mitzvah says that one must align the historical perspective of the people of Israel as a nation with the agricultural perspective. That is to say, essentially, our holidays now, Passover and Shavuot, are the agricultural holidays. And the Torah really emphasizes this, especially in the book of Deuteronomy. We have the holiday of Passover, which marks the beginning of the barley harvest, the holiday of Shavuot, which is the beginning of the wheat harvest, and the holiday of Sukkot, which is the start of the fruit gathering.
Why does the Torah really insist on observe the month of spring?
And observe the month of spring.
What is behind this?
So observe the month of spring. The Torah says, you do not celebrate the agricultural festivals as standalone events, disconnected from your history. There could have been a situation where we have a calendar of national holidays and a calendar of agricultural holidays. And we celebrate the two things separately. On the one hand, we celebrate the divine abundance that we have now. And this is actually something universal. All the nations of the world should celebrate this abundance. And in fact, you know that in the book of Zechariah, it is written that the nations of the world will come to celebrate the festival of Sukkot. What are they celebrating on Sukkot? In the book of Zechariah, it mentions rain. The celebration of rain is a universal celebration, but the people of Israel have a special celebration, and that is the celebration of our becoming a nation. And we do not separate between the two. There will never be a situation where Passover falls in one month and the festival of spring falls in another month. We connect them completely. The Torah set up a very tight schedule for us, in which we deal both with our history, how we left Egypt, and also with our agriculture. What kind of crops did we receive this year? And we actualize them up to the Holy One, blessed be He, as an Omer. But what I want to say is something truly profound. Notice what the people of Israel did with this. The people of Israel, as is their way, took this commandment to the extreme. The people of Israel, every commandment that the Holy One, blessed be He, gives them, they take it to the extreme. And our sages say that because of this, the Holy One, may the Lord lift up His countenance upon you. Why does the Holy One, blessed be He, show us such favor? Showing favor is a kind of special treatment. Why does the Holy One, blessed be He, treat us so well? Because we treat Him well. Everything He says, we take it to the extreme. He says, and you shall eat and drink.
What do you mean by to the extreme? What does it mean?
So the sages say, how could God not show favor to Israel? I said, and you shall eat and drink and bless. And they are so strict with themselves, 7 down to the size of an olive or an egg. I say one thing, and they truly, we will leave any interpretation that is inclusive and welcoming. Similarly, God told us to observe the month of spring, and you can really see something amazing when the people of Israel engage with its own history. Precisely during these days of the counting of the Omer, we have Holocaust Remembrance Day, Memorial Day for the fallen soldiers, Independence Day, the martyrs of the communities, and Jerusalem Day. Along with the grain that grows from Passover to Shavuot, we too are growing in our own history. We are arriving now just 2 days before Shavuot after 47 days of intense engagement with our history. Now we can talk about the story we told last time. I'd like, with your permission, to return to it. I feel that if a story is so beautiful, it deserves to be told properly, right from the beginning. He would say that whatever happened to him, he would say, this too is for the best. It's from God. The Gemara tells the story that he was sent to bring a gift. The Gemara says he was sent to bring a gift to the king of Rome. and he brought a box filled with precious stones and jewels. But on the way, at an inn, the innkeeper switched the stones for dirt. Then he arrives at the king, they open the box, and inside the box there is sand. This is a very, very unpleasant event and also extremely dangerous. Nahum ish Gamzu, as was his way, turns to the heavens and says, "This too is for the best." Then Elijah the prophet appears, disguised as a minister, and says to the king, "You know, this is not just any sand, this is the sand of Abraham, our forefather. Abraham would throw sand, and it would turn into arrows and bows and become arrows. Try, Caesar, to throw this sand at your enemies, and you will see that it will turn into arrows against them." The Caesar tried it, he threw the sand, they turned into arrows. He said, "Wow, what an innovative weapon the Jews have sent me." He sent Nahum ish Gamzu back with great honor and filled his box with precious stones and gems. Then the storekeeper came and said, "Let me take some sand too. That's my sand after all. From the other warehouse, I was the one who filled it. Let's bring it and see if it really works." He brought that sand, and of course it didn't work, and the king executed him. Last time, we talked about how the sand of Abraham, our forefather, when he killed the 4 kings, is a metaphor. Sand refers to all the secular, mundane events that surround us. When there is someone who knows how to say this too is for the best, meaning this entire process is a divine process, then that sand becomes a divine weapon. And here we enter the historical process that we began to discuss last time, which is the 6 world wars, where the Torah emphasizes their self-interested circumstances. The Torah emphasizes that the 4 kings, the kings of Mesopotamia, are fighting against the kings of the land of Israel, which was under Egyptian control, a war of ancient empires driven by interest. They worked them, raised taxes on them. Did they suddenly stop raising taxes? The war is full of secular interests. It is a pile of sand. But within this, there is Abraham, our forefather, and Moses, our teacher, who recognize within it a divine process, and here lies something of tremendous contemporary significance. Imperial wars are a divine process. And the first thing we hear about this war is that it removes bad cultures from the world. In the land of Israel, there are terrible cultures. We don't even know them because they were so terrible. But the Torah refers to them only by very harsh names: Rephaim, Emim, Zamzumim, and Awim. All kinds of savage peoples whom this world war removes and in their place creates a space that we would call today, in the spirit of these times, and Abrahamic space. The Abraham Accord space. The first Abraham Accords are the agreements that the Holy One, blessed be He, makes. And these are agreements in which He essentially declares in the Middle East, all the countries in the Middle East will be Abrahamic. Abraham refers to the family of our forefather Abraham. Ammon and Moab are descendants of Lot, who was the nephew of our forefather Abraham. Edom is also a family of our forefather Abraham. And the Philistines removed from here the wild people who were previously called Avim, and instead the more civilized people will come in who are also related to our forefather Abraham.
It's interesting to note, I don't remember if I read this somewhere, that as a result of the war, all the kings crowned Abraham as their king. Through this kingship, through his influence, he brought nations closer to Judaism. And he is a priest to the Most High God, if you remember that verse. This is related to Abraham's influence on Abimelech after the war. And in the Midrash, I read, it was very interesting.
Yes.
And this is connected to the descendants of Noah.
Absolutely. So first of all, let's mention the Midrash you hinted at, that everyone gathered in the Valley of Shaveh. What is the Valley of Shaveh? A valley where everyone returns to a single opinion. And indeed, this Midrash closely follows the plain meaning of the text. Everyone gathers in the Valley of Shaveh, because in truth, we are celebrating the end of the war, what we call nowadays the day after. And naturally, Abraham, our forefather, who's the one who won the war, influences the new agenda. And here, there is a very, very profound point, and I think it is extremely relevant. It is also connected to the general outlook of the Bible. Essentially, what we have here is an event where 2 huge empires confront each other. The historical process driven by this is that the region is cleared of wicked nations. But let's pay attention to something amazing. Who sets the agenda for the day after? Abraham, our forefather, and his moral choices. Let's notice how many verses the Torah dedicates to Abraham's moral choices. 2 very profound moral choices stand at the root, and they guide the entire concept of the day after. 1, the moral decision to take a risk in order to save hostages. For us, this didn't start with Yoni Netanyahu. Yoni Netanyahu was good seed, a good student of Abraham, our forefather. Abraham, our forefather, he was the first to invent this project of taking a risk and going to war for the sake of hostages. And these hostages were also people who didn't all share his views. True, his nephew was there, and that was a focus, but he took responsibility for his nephew. Let me remind you, this is the same nephew with whom just a few verses earlier he had a conflict. He is not the nephew who stayed at his house. He is the nephew who left him. And yet in the moment of truth, he spit out his teeth and spat out his teeth. immobilizes everyone. Not a single person is left behind. Everyone goes out to war. And the second decision that the Torah really emphasizes is that Abraham, our forefather, has a moral compass. And this moral compass does not bend or sway in the wind because of economic interests. And that's something very profound. Abraham, our forefather, brings about a cultural change in the world. The world was not familiar with this. The world knows that if you win a war, you do it for yourself, to enrich yourself. And the king of Sodom says to Abraham, our forefather, give me the people and take the possessions for yourself. This is such a deeply rooted perception in the world, because think about it, it's a pagan world in which even the gods only think about themselves. Throughout history, it has often been observed that those in positions of great power, such as kings and rulers, tend to prioritize their own interests above all else. This self-centered approach to governance is not merely a matter of personal preference, but rather a recurring theme that has shaped the course of many societies and civilizations. The kings, driven by their desire for wealth, influence, and personal satisfaction, frequently make decisions that benefit themselves, often at the expense of the people they are supposed to serve. Their actions are guided by a sense of entitlement and a belief in their own superiority, which leads them to disregard the needs and well-being of others. One of the most striking examples of this behavior can be seen in the way these rulers treat women within their realm. Instead of respecting the autonomy and dignity of women, the kings often view them as possessions to be acquired and controlled. Each king, acting independently and without regard for the feelings or rights of the women involved, takes for himself those whom he desires, using his authority to justify his actions. This pattern of behavior is not limited to a single time or place, but can be found in various cultures and historical periods. The consequences of such actions are far-reaching, affecting not only the women themselves, but also the broader society. Families are torn apart, social structures are disrupted, and a culture of fear and oppression is perpetuated. Despite the passage of time and the evolution of social norms, the tendency of those in power to act in their own self-interest, particularly when it comes to the treatment of women, remains a significant issue. It is important to recognize and challenge these patterns, both in historical analysis and in contemporary discussions about leadership and justice. By understanding the motivations and actions of kings who think only of themselves and take the women they desire, we can better appreciate the importance of accountability, empathy, and respect for all individuals, regardless of their status or gender. The right choices, the chosen ones, and the moral decisions ultimately influence all the great things happening around us. And we operate as part of a global sphere, as a space that the Holy One manages through powers, and we provide, through our essential moral choices, the thread that gives context and meaning to all the cycles of history we live within. Beautiful. Have a peaceful Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. Goodbye.